Hello, I'm Joseph, and welcome back to my series Colonizing Kerbin. This is my 4th episode of unlocking the tech tree, and in this episode, I am going to be going to 2 locations. I'm going to first be going to Minmus, and then I'm going to be traveling to the Mun. So this is my Minmus lander right here with 4 mystery goo containers because I am taking Valentina, and as a pilot, she is not able to reset the mystery goo containers, and I also have a Science Junior, which she cannot reset. So from the launch pad here, I'm using these 2 large sign boosters that came out in 1.10 to get us off the launch pad. The main engine has a decent amount of thrust, but it had a little trouble getting us off the launch pad. Now that I've released those boosters, I've putting the main booster to full throttle. As you can see, it's wobbling around a little bit. Again, this is why I brought Valentina. She's a little better at controlling some of the instability in my rockets. I'm rushing these rockets just a little bit because I'm in a hurry, trying to unlock the tech tree as fast as I possibly can. So now that I am circularized into Kerbin, I am setting a maneuver node here to get us to Minmus. As you can see, it is not equatorially set, and that is totally okay. Minmus, it takes a little bit more delta V to get to initially, but it actually takes less delta V to land on, way less delta V to land on than the Mun. So it's not a big deal that this initial maneuver is not equatorial. As you can see, I'm setting another maneuver node to adjust the alignment to an equatorial orbit, and it does not cost very much delta V if you do that alignment once you've gotten a little bit away from Kerbin. Once I'm high above Minmus, then I have Valentina run all the science experiments, except for the Science Junior. I'm going to wait to use that Science Junior until we get down to the surface of Minmus to maximize the amount of science that I'm going to get on this mission. I can only use it once since Valentina is not a scientist and she cannot reset the Science Junior. But I do have 4 mystery goo containers, so I will be using that high above Minmus, and then in low Minmus orbit, and then once again on the surface. I don't think I used the 4th mystery goo, but to make sure everything was balanced on takeoff, I went on ahead and had 4 total. So I haven't ditched that upper stage just yet. It will eventually be ditched as we get closer down. I used it to get the Minmus lander in this case to get on a landing trajectory, which we are on right now, and Valentina is just jumping out and she's grabbing that science, taking the crew report out of the Mark 1 command pod before getting back in to make sure we can run the Mark 1 run the crew reports multiple times. So now we drop that upper stage and we are ready for our final landing here with the Minmus lander, and not going to use very much delta V at all. Pretty much all the fuel in this Minmus lander will be needed for us to get off of Minmus and head back to Kerbin, but I have a feeling we'll have pretty much plenty to spare. A nice little touchdown landing there. Finally running the Science Junior, and this is going to yield us a lot of science points. Minmus per biome yields you way more science than the Mun does. Not as much as the other interstellar bodies like Eve and Duna and Elo and all of them, but definitely yields you more science than the Mun. So we're definitely going to come back here multiple times and run to multiple biomes. But before we do that, Valentina has to plant a flag because she is the first Kerbin to land on another celestial body, and she is the first to land on Minmus. Congratulations, Valentina, earning that honor. You are the Buzz Aldrin of the Kerbin world. So after she jumped into the Mark 1 command pod, I just kind of zoomed out and looked around and found that we have one of those Breaking Ground DLC Minmus stones over there, which she can go over to. She can collect this stone, and that gets us even more science. And then after I dropped off the science points that I got from there, I had her fly, we're just going to call it to the north. We're not sure if it was actually to the north. Fly over to these mountains because this is actually another biome. So she's going to run, she's going to collect a surface sample, run a EVA report, and then plant a flag just so that I know that I have been to the lowlands before running those things. And then, of course, we're in the greater flats where we landed here. So the orbital trajectory to get back into orbit can be pretty steep. Minmus is pretty easy to get back off of, does not take very much delta V. at all, and we are already circularized, and we are heading back to Kerbin. So if you look down at the bottom left, you can see the fuel indicator. That's basically it. So yeah, I had plenty of Delta V to do this. Probably could have gone to another biome with this. However, I wanted to do biome hopping, as I call it, once I have brought a scientist and they can run some of those science materials like the Junior and the Mystery Goo multiple times. And in Matt Lown fashion, there are some fireworks for you. Took a page out of Matt Lown's book. And be sure to check out Matt Lown's channel and the other KSP YouTubers that I have down in the description, linked to their channels. This is all a hobby for me. I'm not looking to monetize and make money off of these videos. This is just me being a casual gamer who is just showing some of the things that I'm doing in the game for some of my friends and some of you people that have stumbled across this video. So please go check out those KSP YouTubers that I've linked down below. And wow, as I said, Minmus can get you a lot of science. We have collected over 1,100 science points from Minmus, which gets us around 1,226 science points, total, which will allow us to unlock several things here. You can pause the video if you'd like, slow things down to kind of see what I am unlocking. For time's sake, I like to keep my videos under 15 minutes, so we're just going to continue on there. Feel free to go back, pause the video, and see what's there. Alright, so as you can see now, I'm using the Mark II command pod for this next mission and the Poodle engine for our mothership. And I like this version of the Poodle engine there that came out in recent updates. I just really like the look of it. But you can also see that I am using a lander can here because I'm going to do an Apollo style mission. I really like Apollo style missions. They really do present a more efficient way to run the mission. But part of that is because since I haven't unlocked all of the things on the tech tree right now, it allows me to bring along a scientist and still have a pilot running the mothership. Now, this vessel I built right here where you see the two side boosters, this is probably what I should have had launch off of the launch pad. This is a bit overbuilt, and basically this upper stage that's going to be left eventually, we're going to use that all the way to the Mun. Very much overbuilt here for this mission. Probably could have done that a little more efficiently. Just so you know, I'm used to doing more career games in KSP. This is only my second science build, science game in KSP. I'm not used to not having the financial limitations, though I do kind of like not having to worry about my finances in this. To be honest, I feel a lot of the missions in career mode after a while get very monotonous and repetitive, and I start to lose the interest in some of it. But early on in the game, it was really helpful for me to learn the game a couple years ago when I started playing. So long story short, I'm just kind of getting used to those restrictions not being there and kind of overbuilding my things just a little bit as we go through. So I had Valentina separate the mothership and redock so that way they can travel back and forth between the two, give them a little more space. That Mark II command pod, unfortunately, is not very big. Bob gets out, goes on EVA, runs all of the science materials, and then collects all the science points from those materials. Last time we came to the Mun, we just did a flyby, and some of those science materials may not have been collected. So I deorbit the vessel, undock the mothership, and have Valentina put the mothership back into a circularized orbit. Unfortunately, she does accidentally have a little bit of a collision with the Mun lander, but thankfully these Kerbins, they make some very sturdy engines. So our upper stage is going to finish its job and slow down our speed for our landing and be jettisoned, and then we're going to have plenty of fuel left to do our landing and get back into orbit. Once we touch down here, Bob's going to run all those science materials, and then there's a little Mun rock not too far from here. Thankfully, doesn't have to go very far, our Bob, to go over there, collect that Mun stone, and get some additional science points. Now, you'll notice the fuel lines connecting these side containers to the central fuel line. So we unlock that when we did our Minmus trip because of all those science points. So that allows me to run some asparagus staging and make this vessel be a little more efficient. However, as we were... Oh, Bob, what a distracting landing, Bob. You threw me off my commentary, man. My commentary is already kind of lame as it is. Thanks, Bob, for that distraction. When we debrief, we're gonna talk about proper use of the jetpack. So as you can see, when I jettisoned those containers, we got a full canister of fuel left because the fuel is being dumped from those containers into the central pod. So you're probably looking at all that extra fuel and thinking, man, you know, this guy keeps overbuilding all these things, and why didn't he just go to another biome or two to collect more points? Well, I actually did. You don't see that footage here, but I actually did, and I didn't jettison those side fuel tanks. So when I look down at the bottom left, because I'm not using any mods that give me a higher accuracy reading, I misread that information, and I was thinking, oh man, I just don't have enough delta V to get into orbit. So I went back to the quick save, came back into orbit, and that's when I realized, oh yeah, I had plenty of delta V to go to another biome. But that's okay. We'll be coming back to the Mun and to the Minmus in later episodes. We'll have plenty of opportunities to get a lot more science points. By the way, I did deorbit that lander. I just didn't put it on screen for you. There was a procore that allowed me to do that. You also should have seen in the footage that I didn't have Bob go straight from the Mun lander to the Mark II command pod before jettisoning. It is very important to have your scientists take all the science out of the lander can and then get back into the main command pod through EVA. So that way all the science points get dumped into the Mark II command pod, so that when we recover the craft here in a second, we'll get all those science points. So we're going to get a little bit over 800 some science points from that mission. Not as much as Minmus, but definitely going to allow us to unlock a few more things. We're getting really close to unlocking nuclear engines so we can go interstellar. So thank you for watching this episode, and I will see you next time.